Yo, what's up guys? JDOG here, bringing you guys another video, and in today's video what I'm going to be doing is breaking down all 6 matches this past weekend. We're going to be going through every map at the Kickoff Classic, breaking it down, letting you know who I thought overperformed, underperformed, and just going through everything that happened. Now, in case you were unaware, the CDL actually had its first event this past weekend. It was called the Kickoff Classic. You can see the matches on your screen. All 12 teams played one match. It was just a small little kickoff event to get us excited for the real start of the season on February 11th. None of these matches actually counted for anything as far as prizing. They got no money, no points, no help for seeding for the majors. It was basically used as a test run for the players and the production, but it also just gave us a taste of what we're going to get this coming year. But without further ado, guys, let's jump right into the video, and let's start with Dallas versus New York. Now, obviously, the thing that jumps out is it's a 3-0, so it looks very convincing, and for the most part, it was. That map 1 hardpoint was only a 60-point game, and it was a little competitive, but what really swung this game around was that Empire was basically able to hold 2 full 60s on that P2 hill outside of Green Room. Not to mention that both Huke and Shotzi went on 7 kill streaks. Shotzi actually finished this map positive 18 with 35 kills. Now on to Checkmate Search and Destroy. A 6-2 victory for the Empire looks really convincing, and it was, but I think what really sealed the deal and swung that map in Dallas's favor was round 4, when Illy had one of the nastiest 1v3s I've seen to date. Then it looked like New York might actually be able to win this control. Both teams won their first offense. It was tied 1-1. But then round 3 comes down to a lives battle over the pool point. And guess who shows up again? Illy clutches a 1v2. Dallas go up 2-1. They really just turn up the slaying in round 4. Crimsix ends up finishing the map positive 11 with 34 kills. Illy plus 10 with 32. By the end of it, they just completely outslayed and pretty much dominated the entire series. My overall thoughts here: obviously New York is hurting from the loss of Zuma. Diamond Khan looked to hold his own. He did pretty well, but Empire impressed me. I haven't gotten to see a lot of them so far, so to see them come out and hit New York Subliners with this hot of a 3-0, I think things are looking good for the Dallas Empire to continue to compete for championships this coming season. On to everybody's favorite matchup, the LA Guerrillas versus the Seattle Surge. Last season, they were the 2 bottom teams, but they formed a rivalry against each other to see who was actually the worst team in the league. Hopefully this year, both teams can improve. They both improved their rosters. As you can see here, the Guerrillas took it 3-2. They went up 1-0. Seattle won 2 in a row, and then the Guerrillas won 2 to close it out. That first hardpoint was tough for Pristini. He started off 1-13. LAG starts off to an early 60-point lead. Seattle kind of starts to fight back, but then LAG breaks that second garage hill, and they end up winning by over 100 points. Honestly, this first hardpoint kind of shocked me because everyone on LAG went positive, and there were definitely some players struggling to slay on Seattle. And if you look at just the lineups, the rosters, the players, I would have assumed that a team with Octane, Pristini, Looney, and Gunless would be able to outslay Vivid, Assault, Silly, and Apathy. But Hardpoint isn't all about slaying. Even though they did outslay, Silly and Vivid both had over 2 minutes of hill time each. On Raid, Search, and Destroy, things looked really good for LAG to go up 2-0 early. Apathy started 5-1. But then Seattle gets a bounce-back map from Pristini. He started 11-4. And then Seattle win 5 straight, end up winning the map 6-3. Garrison Control was just a battle of the defenses. Both teams won their defense, and Seattle got defense in overtime. Gunless went off for Seattle, 36 kills and 6,800 damage. And even though they couldn't pull off the map, Apathy almost dropped a 40 bomb, delivering 39 kills. Map number 4, Moscow Hardpoint, was like the perfect definition of a back and forth hardpoint. Seattle was up 50 going into the first P3, LAG was up 50 going into the second, and then Seattle was up 15 going into the third. And ultimately, this map came down to that third P3 hill. LAG had the spawn, Seattle had a really good chance for a break, but they just couldn't get there quick enough, and they weren't able to flip LAG out in time. So LAG ends up winning that map in a fairly close 16-point game. Our first map 5 of the weekend, Garrison S&D. Now I know 6-3 isn't the most one-sided score in the end, but LAG really did dominate this map. Apathy was getting kills every round inside of the vent. Silly stopped a bomb plant with 2 seconds left. Everybody on Seattle was negative. Octane had a really rough map. 1400 damage, but only 2 kills, whereas Vivid and Assault combined were 20 and 10 with 7 First Bloods. Overall thoughts on this map: LAG looked better to me than I expected, and Seattle did seem to struggle more than I anticipated. I think both of these teams are definitely better than they were last year, but I'm curious to see how they perform against other teams, and specifically that upper echelon top tier of teams as the season kicks off. The last match of Saturday, now I picked this as a 3-0 in favor of FaZe, and boy was I wrong. Florida really came out hot, and Atlanta FaZe did seem to have some more problems that I really didn't see coming. That Garrison hardpoint was really back and forth until the end. FaZe seemed to be out-rotating Florida, but Florida ended up winning really important gunfights and just were able to break hills consistently. It came down to the very end, and FaZe was able to spawn trap Florida behind the tanks on light side. They chained P5 and P1 together, and they were able to take the map in a close 32-point game. Simp and Celium had really good maps for Atlanta FaZe, but I did want to point out that as a rookie and someone that's making their debut in the CDL, Neptune led Florida with 4,900 damage, and he did really well this entire series. On to the Garrison S&D. Really close map, 6-5. Sky starts 8-1. Florida go up 4-1, and then Atlanta win 4 out of the next 5 to send it to round 11. But Skies said, yeah, I'm not letting FaZe come back. We're going to win this in round 11. They end up winning 6-5, and Skies finishes 15-7. That's over a 2 KD with 4 First Bloods. On to Garrison Control, another close map. Each team wins their first defense and then their second offense. Atlanta gets defense in overtime, and overtime was just a crazy round. Florida end up 3-stacking the final point with 17 seconds left, and then FaZe somehow manages to break it with less than a second left before that point would have been captured. First and only time we saw a Crossroads hardpoint this weekend. It was a pretty convincing win from Florida. They pretty much had Atlanta FaZe in a spawn trap the entire game. They completely outslayed them. Skies went off again, this time with the M4 leading the lobby with 27 kills. And then again, Neptune with the strong debut. He finished the map +7 with over 2 minutes of hill time. So Florida manages to tie up the series, send it to a game 5. It comes down to checkmate, search, and destroy. Right off the bat here, you have Slacked win a 1v2 and Awakening win a 1v3. Florida are looking like they're going to win. FaZe then starts to look like they're coming back. Arcides actually wins a 1v2 in round 5. But then Florida deliver the final blow. They win 6-3. Huge map from Awakening, 10-5, over 2,100 damage. And yeah, guys, Florida takes the series 3-2. In my prediction video, I talked about how Atlanta FaZe's roster was one of the best in the world on paper, but Florida kept up with them in the slaying department. You know, Awakening is looking as good as he was last year, if not better. Skies really performed well. Neptune, incredible debut from him. I think FaZe will get better as the season goes on, but yeah, Florida is definitely competing in that top tier of teams. And I'm curious to see once group play starts if Florida can continue to win versus tough competition. Sunday's matches started with the London and Paris rivalry. This match, I predicted 3-1 in favor of London. Paris actually ended up sending this to a game 5, and they took it. And one of the things that I did not see coming is they took both hardpoints. Garrison hardpoint, map 1. Paris goes off to an early lead, but London is able to tie it up about 170 going into that second P4. But Paris end up breaking that second P4 hill, and then they chain it with P5 to get the dub. Aqua went 33-18, and he ended the game on an 11 kill streak. Everybody on London got completely outslayed. They were outslayed by 19 kills. Everybody negative. Paris just really dominated that first respawn. Checkmate S&D. London looked a lot stronger than Paris. Scraps had a tough game. He finished 1-8. Everybody on London went positive. Dylan had 4 First Bloods. Overall, London pretty much dominated that search. Garrison Control was another fun one. London really was in control of the whole map. Zero won a huge 1v1 in round 2 to go up 2-0. Dylan finished the game +6 with over 4,100 damage. Aqua did really well again for Paris, but Scrap seemed to struggle again, and overall, Paris just couldn't figure out a way to get anything going on map 3. Checkmate Hardpoint. a little bit closer than the first hard point, but Paris was able to get it done again. Scraps, Aqua, Fire combined plus 17 in the slaying department. And 3 players on Paris had over a minute and a half of hill time. And then the first and only time we saw Miami Search played this weekend, Paris was able to get it done this time in a 6-3 fashion. Classic had an ace in round 1. For London, Zero went 7-7, but the rest of the team all went negative. And then on the Paris side, Classic and Fire, 10-6, 9-3, just pretty much outslaying in every single map that they won. Yeah, I have to say I'm surprised. I'm going to give Paris a lot more credit going into the league. Overall, they look like they're just a better slaying team in general. London underperformed a little bit for me. I was looking forward to seeing London compete in that middle to upper tier of teams this year like they did last year. I thought they gave some of the top teams some really good matches, and I don't know. I'm curious to see how they do in group play as well, because it looked like they aren't quite as strong as I anticipated. On to the Battle of the North, Toronto versus Minnesota. Minnesota was able to take this in a 3-2. I believe I predicted it a 3-1. I gave Toronto that first hard point, and then I thought Minnesota would win 3 in a row. Toronto was actually able to win both hard points, and Minnesota was able to win both searches, steal the control, and win the series that way. Map 1, Garrison Hardpoint, was really, really interesting. Minnesota was +8 in kills, but they actually lost the game by 6 points. Really close hardpoints like this, sometimes that is the case. You know, if you're rotating well or you're winning a key gunfight or two, you can be outslayed and win if you're this close. Huge things out of Bance. He finished +15 in kills with over 7,700 damage. Methods and Kleenex combined for -24, and Priesta also +4 with 2 minutes of hill time. Really, Toronto just took advantage of key moments and situations, and they were able to sneak out map 1 with a win. Moscow Search and Destroy, Minnesota goes up 3-1, Toronto wins 3 in a row to go up 4-3, and then Minnesota wins 3 straight to win 6-4. Really back and forth map. Major Maniac had a really solid map, 12-4, 1,800 damage. One of the big criticisms this weekend was that Search and Destroy, with no smokes and no snipers, played a lot more like One Life TDM, which, you know, to a certain extent is what Search and Destroy is, but this map too, I definitely felt that every time a team won, they either had their whole team alive or they had one player die. So at the end of every round, somebody was in a 1v3 or a 1v4, and nobody was able to make any crazy clutches. On to Checkmate Control, Minnesota pretty much slaughtered this entire map. They won 3-0. Accuracy and Major Maniac were combined 11-2 after round 1. Minnesota won their defense in round 2, +9 in lives. And by the end of the map, Minnesota outslayed by 26, everybody on Toronto, all negative. Just a really solid map from Minnesota. Toronto really had no chance. On to map 4, Checkmate Hardpoint. Toronto got off to an early 60-point lead, and they pretty much held it throughout the entire game until the very end. They pulled away, won by over 100. Big things out of Bance again. He had a really solid series. He had 33 kills, 18 deaths, +15 with 5,700 damage. Oddly enough, last map, Minnesota outslayed Toronto by 26. This map, Minnesota was outslayed by Toronto by 23. It's very rare that you see a huge flip like that in the slaying department, but back-to-back maps here, I don't know what happened. I guess Minnesota is just really good at control, and they haven't quite figured out their hard point yet. They tie it up 2-2, send it to a game 5. It is Garrison Search and Destroy. Minnesota goes up 5-2. Looks like they're going to win convincingly. Then Toronto wins 3 straight, sends it to a round 11, and Minnesota is able to hold off the comeback and win 6-5. Kleenex did really well for Toronto. He finished 10-7, but the rest of the 3 players combined were -9. Major Maniac and Priesta, really good stuff from them this whole series. They finished the map +11 with 6 first bloods. Now let's talk about the most anticipated match of the weekend, the Los Angeles Thieves versus the Chicago Optic. This was the last match of the weekend, and it did not disappoint. As you can see, Optic Chicago won 3-0. The first map, that Garrison Hardpoint, was back and forth for a while, but Chicago ended up pulling away and winning that map by over 100 points. Formal and Scump combined to be plus 19 in kills. Dashy went on an 11 kill streak at one point and ended up with 2 minutes of hill time on top of it. Everybody on the Thieves went negative, and as we've come to know from this roster, Optic Chicago's slaying power was just next level. Map 2 was Checkmate Search and Destroy. Now, I wasn't too sure how good Optic Chicago would be in Search and Destroy, so for this matchup I gave in my prediction Los Angeles Thieves a dub here, and I said that Chicago was just going to win the respawns. What actually ended up happening though was it was a close back and forth game, but Optic looked a lot better than I thought they would. They won it 6-4. Envoy was the MVP for this map. He went 10-6. Really, I think the problem was LA Thieves was doing a lot of damage, but they weren't necessarily getting the kills. Kenny and TJ combined for almost 3,500 damage, but they only had 15 kills combined. And after a close search and destroy, Optic just turned it up a notch. Envoy started raid control 11-0, and even though the Los Angeles Thieves actually came back in round 2 and ended up outslaying, it all came down to the pool point, and it was a battle of lives. Dashy was the last person alive for Optic, and before the LA Thieves could get to the pool point, Dashy ended up capturing it. Round 3 wasn't really that close, and by the end of the map, Optic outslayed by 18 kills. Standout performances from Envoy and Formal, who led the lobby with 27 kills. Overall, I was very impressed with how Optic looked in this match. They looked very confident and as good as a respawn team as there is in the game right now. As for the Los Angeles Thieves, I don't think they should hang their heads. They're going up against one of the best teams in the game right now. They weren't able to steal that search and destroy. I think the LA Thieves will continue to get better as the league continues. But yeah, guys, that's it for the matches this last weekend. I hope you enjoyed that breakdown. The next official event that we have is this opening weekend. It starts on February 11th, and it is the Atlanta Faze hosted home series. These matches will actually count for CDL points and will affect seeding in the first major tournament. And here's a look at what matches we're going to see during that home series. Be on the lookout for my next video. I'll be talking about all the announcements that came out of the Kickoff Classic. We have a full schedule reveal for all the home series and all the majors. We know every match of the first 3 home series heading into that first major. We got clarification on the group selection process, as well as new details about CDL points, prizing, and the league playoffs. But yeah, guys, that's it for the video. I hope you enjoyed the breakdown, and I hope you had a good time watching these guys play this weekend. I know I did. Please do follow my socials. My Twitter and Twitch are on this screen, and if you are interested in joining the Wolfpack Discord, the link is in the description below. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one.